Anthony's the founder and principal designer of Lopez Design. I thought I might as well. Yeah, but yeah, the rest is up to you.
So I'm going to run something which the whole idea is trying to share what I'm thinking now. It'll be good to be challenged, right? Because the aspect of self-belief, which we spoke about in various little things, in terms of people generally at large, came into me reasonably late in life, right? Where I thought, "Main kuch hoon," right? And thereby I could give back in that sense. So this is an argument in place here, and let's see how you take it. I just came back from Ahmedabad, and I gave talks in 2 schools. They both happened to be design schools, but one was graduates and the other was postgraduate courses. And I started with this slide. And obviously I asked them question, what do you think? So most of them knew this is the black hole, or representation of the black hole. And I said this is just another direction in which basically you see a slice of the universe, right? And then I asked a counter question in context to everything what has been done in the world so far, this little universe, small world which we live in. What do you think is a percentage of work which humanity has done in context to what it needs to do in the future, right? And everybody, again, gave me some percentage. And of course, even I have no marking of what that percentage is. But I'm saying I'm going to push that thing into say that that is only 1% of what humanity has done so far, right? And this 99% of what it can do is going to unleash itself. And then we are talking about the times we are in, and the times are in context to massive change. So there's going to be a massive change happening at a speed which is unfathomable, yeah, in that sense. I typically use the term blink in between my slides because I'm now switching topics. So it's blink here, and moving over to something else. Again, this is a slide which is pre-COVID, and we adopted these 2 little puppies from the street, and they came into this building, which was well designed, as you can see, well organized. Everything was perfect for me. And these 2 guys came and started pissing around, shitting around, vomiting, fighting with each other, and whatnot. And I always wanted a dog all my life. I could never have one. And we got 2 of them, and I was regretting. I said, what the hell have I done, right? And what I put my family to. And Zina, she used to take all the burden of these 2 guys shitting around. And then we hit COVID very soon. And I realized, and I would start yelling at these guys and screaming at them, right? And because that's the way I was, right? Getting things done, right? And I had to actually internalize the whole thing about these 2 guys and swallow it and start treating them differently. So typically what we do is when we get dogs is get a trainer and start training them. I refuse to do that. So I said they need to be living the way they would want to live in themselves without training them. You know, go, sit, stand, all those things. And this is what they've become, 2 handsome guys. And I started growing my hair along with that, and that's what it turned into. This is the COVID period. But the question I put to people is that we get stuck with who we are. We think we know everything in whatever. Because that's what people hire us for those things, and we deliver those things, and we deliver them pretty well, and they pay us, right? But at the end of the day, I think we need to bring a lot of change into our life deliberately. But when it comes to us, you know, then we should accept it. And recently I was in Ahmedabad, and I was speaking to my mother, who's becoming older by the day and very frail. And as she becomes frail, she becomes very stubborn. And I was talking to 2 friends of mine. And I said that, man, and I was getting upset with her. Everything she spoke, I had something counter to say and give it with all my force, right? You better understand me. I'm saying this for your own good, you know? And then I realized, man, I got to change myself. There's no way this is going to work with her. Eventually, she'll succumb because I'm a tyrant, right? Then I realized, I mean, the same thing is happening with me again. So that's the That's a transformation I'm seeking for myself. And I'm saying, how can I transpose this to a lot of other things and unstuck myself with those things? So that's something which I'm trying to do as a person. Very quickly, I've removed a couple of slides on Lopez Design, but and my questions, if you see, to all speakers were always in context to scale. And I said that if at all I've been put into this place and this is what we have created so far, how can we apply ourselves where it can be exponentially blown or benefited? And this could apply to anything, right? And largely we're looking at that's a business sales pitch happening there, but you can replace sustainable business growth to sustainable anything. And we are interested in sustainable anything, and then saying, okay, but you can also do business with it, right? And thereby, so I passed out as a so-called vertical expert in graphic design, but I ended up doing lots of things because that's my personal interest, to be dabbling in many, many things. And that became very advantageous for a firm like ours, because we became not only ambidextrous as a firm, where we have architects, product designers, strategists, researchers, all these type of people are working together. And I get challenged by these people because they come from different verticals, right? But also, it reshapes me. It makes me ambidextrous in my thinking, which is a term which is not used, technically speaking. And thereby, something which is rooted very deep, which I've figured out for myself, the why of what we do is more important than what you do. So you go to the core of everything in context to why do I exist, and then thereby, how can I be of some contribution. You all have all been to this building, and I use this thing in context to design and saying that how do we designers walk our talk in everything we do. So this is just a physical structure, but in context to everything else, how do we walk our talk? And thereby my belief in terms of that we are all born with genius, that wall speaks of that, and there's an illustration with man and nature, and you'll have to find the words we are all born with genius out there. And it's been institutionalized in these walls in context to saying that if that is true, which we all know that yes, it is true for every individual, then how can we bring that out as designers, right? And how can we fructify that? And again, how do I inspire everybody who works with me that the genius lies in them, right? That's that wall. This is another very flamboyant and bold and maybe a statement which I make. So this one slide is missing in between. It says reimagining design through India. Because design is a foreign term for us in that context, in a context of the way it's been brought in from outside while it was already existing here, and then imposed as a way of thinking, way of applying ourselves. You know, so the typical one can use colonization, imposition of design onto a country like ours, or the white supremacy aspect of how everything in the world is run because of a certain point of view or certain ways of doing things. And we say, can we rediscover ourselves in context to what we are made up of, purely? Kis mitti ke bane hue? And I feel that among us designers, we need to challenge ourselves, because I think we need to redefine the concept of design. This is another thing which I believe in, that it's a strategic tool, while it has always been treated as a crafted tool, right? We use craft, but as the means for an end goal, if it is strategic in nature. So all of you guys must be knowing this person, but he talks about humans were always far better at inventing tools than using them. Yeah, we all probably would agree with this. Yeah, okay. And I feel that it's important that there's a tremendous opportunity for us to seed ourselves right in context to people who are very conscious of many, many things beyond our vertical expertise. Future is big data, machine learning, biosciences, etc. And this is where basically the quantum jump is going to happen. The massive change is going to happen because of these tools, right? We already see HP saying they can give me 320 inks and give me so many variations. What so many variations? Any variation I want, right? And then we already have Elon Musk working on the chip which is going to, set certain people right who are born with certain type of disabilities. But we also know what can happen with the same chip otherwise, right? We already know somebody in the morning spoke about embryos being, formed outside the human body. And we already know what can happen otherwise with it, with a country like China or something like that. Again, the same chip, or the DNA manipulation which can happen at the highest level possible, where we can produce super human beings at the other end, right? Or bring in corrective measures. Yeah, all this is leading us to a massive change. And thereby people like us who think we know a lot or apply ourselves with a certain confidence of knowledge and application of knowledge both, I think we are all groping in the dark. Because things are happening too fast. And how do we learn to live these two words, being agile as a human being, as a person who's practicing life, and be adaptable? ये कहना बहुत आसान है, according to me. And again, I've changed the spelling and says, how do we are always in a not become but becoming state always. And still learn how to forgive yourself, because you figure out that you were wrong quite a bit, right? And then you got to correct yourself. The reason is because I feel that there are lots and lots of ways which the world has always proven themselves how to make use of vulnerable people, right? To sell something or to come out with an ad or this and that and all. So we always make use of that very effectively. And I feel that a lot of things require corrections. And by the time laws come into place or policies come into place, it's already too late. Technology has moved on and made more rubbish for itself. There's a slide here typically that thereby basically we need more champions doing the right thing. I'm not moving forward. So I use this slide to introduce myself. And I say, my name is Anthony Lopez. Most people who do not see my face think I am born somewhere in South America or somewhere, Mexico most likely. And once they hear my voice, the secretary on the other line would say Malayali Amo. And once they see me, they say, are you from Goa? Neither of that, right? But that's what's exciting about a name like mine, and I do leverage it many times. Of course, there's my cousin Jennifer, and we're not in talking terms any longer. I use this slide to explain my life. It's a series of lucks, right? My father ran away from his village in Karnataka because his father remarried and his mother died. And he couldn't take it, so he ran away. He came to Bombay. Didn't work out for him. He came to Ahmedabad. And his neighbor turned out to be my mother, who was BA educated. He fell in love with her, eloped with her. And that's his first stroke of luck. And then he uses her to fill in an application form to apply to NID as a block maker. He's again lucky, gets a job in NID. And then, of course, so on and so forth. He goes to Germany and Switzerland. Imagine, not even 10th pass guy is now gone to Germany, and learning the craft. Comes back with great learnings. He becomes a very good craftsperson in block making. Of course, on the way, I pop in. Because I've got influence of NID, that's the only thing I want to do. My dad says, no NID for you, because he sees everything there, and he thinks it's all drugs and everything. But then I'm very stubborn because I get bad marks. He wants me to do engineering, following my uncle. Anyway, and I'm lucky to get into NID. And so on and so forth. There's a series of luck which I chanced upon. I could have been a mechanic. seriously. And of course, because from the background I come, all those things and the genes I carry, the lucky genes I carry, basically, I'm a hardworking person and I've achieved something in life. Long way to go. That's my dad, no longer. And this is a picture in front of a house, which is a one-room house. That one room is everything, right? We were the lucky people to have a toilet outside. That means we didn't have to go to a public toilet. And the prized possession of my dad in that colony, for him, was a cycle, right? The cycle, I thought, was chhati bar, you know. And why chhati bar? Because I was a small kid and barely could not ride on top of the cycle, so ऐसे करके. But हमारी जो पूरी मोहल्ले के boys used to be after me so that they could teach me how to cycle. So they would give me one round and then they would get a one round of that cycle, right? So that's what the premium aspect in that little colony. And very importantly, in this picture, this is a Christmas picture. All of us are wearing new clothes. My dad's shoes, right? So he's got really worn out shoes. And this is a typical picture for a big slice of India. And the other picture, which is another bigger slice of India, right? Not a surprising picture, but I used to have long hair in NID. And this is when just I was about to pass out. So this is another slide I show because I said that I'm bloody lucky to be standing in front of you because I'm one among 1.4 billion people, right? Stroke of luck. Yahan pahunch gaya main. But that brings me to a very important point, and I've been struggling with this concept for many, many years. And one day I was reading Sam Harris, and he says, free will, he talks about that we do not have free will, and it's a very good book to read, very thin, good book. But the summary of this, what he says that you can't take credit for your talents, but it matters that you use them. Right? You can't really be blamed for your weakness, but it matters that you correct them. So pride and shame do not make a lot of sense. And in the final analysis, they weren't much fun anyway. So this really hits you like crazy to say that if all what you have got is purely a stroke of luck or destiny, not in terms of destiny, but the series of things which happen to you because you're born with something, born in a place, born in a family, it goes on and on happening. You have to acknowledge that it's a gift. And if you acknowledge that, then it kills your ego, right? Ideally, it should kill your ego. And if you also acknowledge the fact that, yes, but you're born with many things which other people have, you don't have them, right? And that realization happens, and it should push you to work better, to become better off, right? And I think and not give up in life, and and if these two worlds meet, I think goodness can happen in reality. And thereby, basically, I make this statement, again, is a statement technically not allowed. We are differently abled, each one of us. Right? Hum sab alag hai, very much. Yet, marketing, businesses will box everybody together. Dal do sabko ek saath mein. You know? This is India, Kishadi. We were 2,000 plus warring states before the Britishers came in. हम कैसे एक थे? We still say हम एक थे. We were never one, right? Of course, there were again kingdoms which are larger, they became smaller, but we were constantly fighting with each other, etc., etc. Mughals came in, so and so came and went, etc. You know, and finally, 200 years of British rule altered us. They brought us together, but altered us in a large way. And miraculously, we are now one country. And for all these hundreds of years, we have learned how to live together. You know? And I think that's a fantastic thing which has happened to us. The diversity in which we live in is a miracle in itself. Right? And we are reasonably harmonious together. I think if at all there are differences which pop out and then we kill each other for them, it is because they are created. It's politicized. Somebody has taken advantage of those differences and exploded and done whatnot. The same India, because of from where it comes from the troubles it comes from, is a huge luck by chance. 5 minutes left, she said. And so the first thing which large parts of the population do is open the newspaper and see Bhavishyavani. What is my fate? right? And they would go to the nearest guy to find out, naukri milegi ki nahi, right? 98% of us believe in God. He's a great director. And अगर वो नहीं बताता है तो उसका एजेंट बता देगा, हाँ किसके साथ शादी करनी चाहिए. This guy, you know, Mukesh Bhai, but there's also other Mukesh Bhai. This Mukesh Bhai is my cook, and he gives me this little parchi, and he says, भैया ये आपके दोस्तों में बांट दो ताकि मैं और पैसे कमाऊँ और मेरे 2 daughters को शादी कर दे. Because he wants to collect money to get his daughters married off. So the whole India is like this, I think. Everybody is seeking opportunities to become better off, right? And some of them really become better off. Yeah, you need to read this slide. I think we are at a stage where we need to be bloody confident. ये तो बेच के दिखा देगा इसको. And I think in a lot of ways we do that, but as a nation, I think we need to start having that collective confidence from deep within, and not a made-up one. And thereby, ab waqt hamara hai. The time is now. And I've been using this slide for the last 15 years, but I hope there's a consensus, a feeling that India has arrived. And this India has arrived basically was actually the Trust with Destiny Nehru speech, right? Where he talks about the awakening and the long suppressed India's emerging out, right? He tells us then, but I think we were not capable of emerging out that easily. It took us a long time. It took all these years. And I think now a lot of us are feeling very, very confident. India is feeling confident. But there's lots to go. Yeah, thank you.
Anybody has any questions?
I think you're spot on this part. And unfortunately in India, you might have seen there was this ad on TV a few years back. There's this mother-in-law, she gives a gift to her daughter-in-law, basically a guy in drag, one of the comedians who was doing a lot of ads. And she's very happy, so Mummy ji chai lijiye, and she opens this gift. It's like a mobile phone, it's got a tiny screen. She says, Mummy ji ye kya hai, thoda to bada sochte. So she also gets asked, kya bekar chai banai hai, So that small thinking is such a, and it's nothing to do with, it's like not Indian, it's all over the world, all the colonized people, all the suppressed people, even in a developed country like US, where it's such an information-rich society, they have found that not just migrants as in Indians, but they have found Nigerian Americans have a far higher income level than African Americans. They've been able to do that. So there's nothing different between those Africans and others, right? But so despite whatever the racial issues may be, and this whole condition, it's very hard to break out of that. And even since I'm in the film business, for example, when you look at it, even in Bollywood, if Bansali is making a new movie, he is not thinking that I need to make this such a film that people who watch Spielberg will watch my movie. He's only saying, wo Devdas jitni chali thi, wo audience aa jaye, wo kafi hai. Shah Rukh Khan is also thinking that, okay, the new movie which is coming out, if I manage to get Om Shanti Om, crowd, Dubai, Canada, this and that, I'm happy. So even people who can afford to think big, they are unable to do that. And you find that in every sphere we have that issue. Our foreign policy, it's like that, okay, X country relation, are they good or bad? Depends what their position is on Pakistan and Kashmir. We have a very small idea. And it's very hard, that is the challenge. And increasingly you find, which you may have noticed too, that people who are in a smaller positions, doing modest work, like this cook you mentioned, they are able to think big, whereas people in prominent positions are not able to do that for whatever reasons. That's my thought. Thank you.
One little thing to add in context to, I just make these statements, and I'm challenged by them myself, big time. But there are 2 words which I typically use repeatedly in this aspect of challenging. One is seeding. Okay, how do because I think because of the emerging India, and if we believe that yes, something is happening, whether it is for good or not as good, purely in terms of the amount of money is being pumped, say example, into infrastructure building, right? Massive building, massive airports, massive infrastructure, all institutions coming up, new institutions coming up, institution building is happening, all those things. there is a, what typically one is used to seeing is that, oh, get the best of the best and plant it here, right? And thoda sa rang dal do India ka, in that sense. So it's progressively for me, another level of improvements, the way we progressively improve generally in life. So I said, can we relook at things? Can I be capable of relooking, first of all, capable of? And the secondly is that, are we capable of looking at something called leapfrogging, right? Another very tough thing to do, because I think I'm pushing myself to say that, can I push myself to leapfrog in context to time so that I could, whatever I contribute in whatever little means, is actually leapfrogging in terms of process, okay, incremental changes, like the West has been doing. So something as simple as, today morning I spoke about the inclusive symbol, right? The world has been using the half male, female for LGBTQ. And the world continues, if not that, then they use the male and female symbol combined together. And we thought that it was absolutely wrong. While that world, we were expecting that world to be right about it, because they were the guys who were started off being sensitive, right? And we found that needs to change, and we changed it for one of the projects which we are working on. And we hope that that is a leapfrog moment for us in context to how we did that. And because of that opportunity, which came our way, not as a mandate, not as a brief, but because we chanced upon it, we are now redesigning all the symbols for public spaces, right? And reinventing them in context to say, now we can create the next DIN. DIN is a standard made by the Germans, right? In terms of symbols and how symbols should be made and what should they look like, so that the world can follow. And that's how the world followed symbols in context to that. But it needs a paradigm shift, very simply. Because the world has moved many times over and the symbols are chasing or progressively moving, but it's quantum leaps which we have to take. I'm just giving one thing, but I think this applies in everything, big time. The other theory which I have, again, that the world is full of vertical experts. And every vertical expert is damn good at solving the problem within their vertical means. But there are very few integrators. The integrator is left to the CEO, to the topmost guy, and the CEO is struggling to make ends meet. Who are the successful CEOs? Are the guys who found our organizations with deep value systems, with deep innovations, with deep. Steve Jobs, one example, right? But then he puts everything he wants he has into it, and he builds it and he builds it, and he's very, very stubborn because he's got absolute clarity. But that's not every CEO is fortunate, or not every builder is fortunate from that perspective. And success is that chance, as far as a lot of them fail, a lot of them succeed for other means, or using the technical means of success, right? Because it is not very difficult if you have the means to do it.
Anthony, I'll ask you a question.
Yes, please.
So it's great to see how much of a constant learner you are. You're constantly integrating new ideas, new thoughts into your thinking. Can you give an example of any project that has, at the outset, you took on the project and you thought it would go in one direction, and when it ended, you had completely ended in a different direction or a different place than you thought?
Projects. You can talk to anybody in the team. And we always challenge ourselves with the enormity of the possibilities which lie ahead. The enormity or the burden which we have of not getting intimidated by what somebody has done pretty good, right? The enormity of the possibilities which we could unleash purely because the given equation which we are in context to that project is unique. And thereby it requires a unique solution. So I could show you one example out of the many. So I always, the questions which I was asking Sujata today, even scale. I'm very interested in scale. So, and I'm interested in scale in terms of billions. So for me, India population is the benchmark for impact, right? And I was fortunate, or we were fortunate to get this project from the government of India to brand Ayushman Bharat. We all know Ayushman Bharat as a project, right? So it's basically a government of India initiative for health and wellness scheme which is impacting 1.3 billion people across the country, which requires primary health care, right, in that sense. And so there are basically 150,000 health centers across the country, remote villages, etc. It is spread across India, length and breadth of India, right? And we were told that, bhaiya, the Prime Minister is inaugurating a new health center with a new initiative, right? And bhaiya, iska logo banao, iska graphics banao, and we need to paint all the health centers with this new graphics and make something. So the brief was reasonably clear. Make something so that it attracts the people. Why should it attract the people? Because as we all know from the village level, they have their own medicines, right? And so they come back to, or rather come to the new sciences or the old sciences, which Ayurveda was part of this also. That's the new initiative of the government. Come here to experts so that you can have a better healthy life, right? So we had got 15 days. Again, this is a challenge to crack this problem. On the 14th day or 13th day, we made a presentation of 3 options. And because PM was inaugurating, there was just kya acha lagta type of thing. So we literally did good looking graphics, right? And I was frustrated because it was not, I knew it was not the right thing. But we had to deliver. So, and they selected one idea out of that and say, Abhi, we will now paint the entire country's 1.5 lakh with this idea of yours. We all like it. Everybody will like it also, right? It happened to be a weekend. And so this is the potty idea which I got. And I came back next day on Monday. I brought my team back on the weekend. And we worked and we created another presentation. And yeah, this is what we did. So there was no 2 health centers which are the same. As buildings, they are all different, right? Every village had a different health center. So we couldn't paint the wall in a consistent manner. So we said, forget about painting the wall in a consistent manner. We will give the villager or the painter in the villager the option of selecting a door and window, making a circle next to it, and then running 2 parallel lines. The circle would definitely have one of the facilities which we offer as a health center, but it will be, the local artisan or the local painter will be given the option of putting wherever they want, right? And in the parallel lines, the gap in the parallel line, they are allowed to put anything they wish as far as full patti, craft. So the local guy will always put what they know. And typically painters will always paint same thing again and again for the rest of their life. And they're very good at it. So apna varli dal dega from Maharashtra, depending on which village he comes from, he'll put his own art inside, right? So this is what we assumed as designers will happen. And we give them the freedom and they will go ahead and do it, right? So of course we designed one building which was meant to be inaugurated in Chhattisgarh. We're not allowed to go there, Naxalite area. The PM comes, inaugurates it. So this is what happened after we released the brand manual on WhatsApp. No intervention from Lopez Design. Yeah, this is a health center on the outskirts of Chandigarh. And this is what they did. And I was shocked out of my wits. I was not expecting this. Right? This is their creation. And like this, there is about 80,000 health centers already painted. And it's their creation. So here probably these ladies are saying, Hamara Raju ne banaya. It's their, ownership is theirs, 101%. And unlikely anybody knows it's us. Yeah. Recently one of us went to Andamans for snorkeling training. And she sends me this picture. If you can't see from there, there are turtles out there. Right? Nobody asked them to put turtles. Probably they figured it out themselves. The local district guy. That's Mizoram. That's Odisha. So rich. Huh? And it does not disturb from a branding perspective. There's nothing to worry. It's still Ayushman Bharat. For that villager, his footprint is 2 kilometers. 4 kilometers. Doesn't make a difference. From the national level, top-down attitude, it still doesn't make it. Still Ayushman Bharat. Likha hua hai wahan pe. What's your problem? You know, so how we shifted in our heads of how identity or branding needs to be done in context to these things.
This was lovely. But I just wanted to make a comment. You spoke about this earlier also. Similar thing about where people are not clear, clients do not have the clarity about what design does. Is this a means? Is this a end? It's a process. And I found very interesting tool by the Copenhagen Art Center, Design Center, long time back, the Design Ladder. It's there on Google and everybody should check it out. Is where they put a 4-step ladder to what design is. So at the lowest level, there is no design. So everybody is a designer. So whatever you do is design. At the second level is design is making things beautiful. And this is irrespective of the domain, whether it's branding or product or film or whatever. The third is where design comes as a process. And fourth is where design comes as strategy. And what I find fascinating is that most of the work which I see of mature designers today is actually each project is on all 4 ladders. So you start with this on the strategic level. You create a process. Many times you leave the second level to somebody. Many times you finish it yourself. And then you leave the lowest level of the step to people to fulfill it themselves. So brilliant. I see this fitting very well. Thank you.
I have one small important point to make. And that again comes by the way we've been taught, or way we hold the title of an expert. We think, and here the concept is about aesthetics, right? I'm supposed to make a judgment on the aesthetic of that guy in Tamil Nadu. Not possible, sorry. It's impossible to create aesthetics which will please the entire nation in the sensibilities at which it should, the way we see aesthetics as the so-called elite understanding of aesthetics and beauty and stuff like that. So while design is beautiful, I think it's a misunderstood term from the way we conceive beauty in objects, in production, in everything else. And thereby the pressure which the receiver is put, maybe a mobile phone, maybe Apple, is purely the whole effort going into making you agree and forcefully agree that this is beautiful. This is what beauty is, right? But my beauty is very different. And that my beauty is being eroded on a daily basis. Like languages, right? Vanishing languages, vanishing this. And we always pay the price for it saying, but unnati. But I think that it is not about this or that. I think it's always about finding the way, because there is a way. And that's what that 99% is for me. And I think, and I want to challenge everybody and say, hey, can you start thinking on those grades? Because there are solutions, and the world is much, much clever. The technology, etc., everything allows you to do that.